Make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The mainstream media, the proud defenders of the unprofitable business of women's basketball, the mainstream media who has spent years trying to convince us that women's basketball is must-see TV instead of what it actually is, which is get off my TV. You mean to tell me the media is publicly admitting that Unrivaled is struggling?
For years, mainstream sports media positioned itself as the unwavering defender of women's basketball, treating optimism as obligation and criticism as betrayal, especially when it came to new ventures like Unrivaled. But something has shifted, and the change is unmistakable. The same voices that once framed every development as progress are now openly acknowledging that Unrivaled is struggling, financially, culturally, and in audience traction. What changed isn't the data, because the warning signs were always there. What changed is that the numbers are now too loud to ignore and too public to spin. Low viewership, muted fan engagement, and shaky momentum have forced honesty into the conversation, and with it, a quiet reckoning. This reversal reveals how long narrative protection masked real business issues, how politics and personal alignments softened scrutiny, and how belief was sometimes substituted for viability. Now that the hype has faded, reality has stepped in, and the media is being forced to confront a truth it avoided for years. Enthusiasm alone doesn't build a sustainable league, and eventually, even the most loyal cheerleaders have to admit when the model isn't working.
Earlier today, this morning in fact, I dropped a video about Unrivaled ratings being straight trash. I mean, complete dog shiznit, right? And they are. They've fallen off a cliff. Now, something I did not mention, the ratings have went down versus last year, despite there being a new television rating system that has, as we've seen, artificially inflated numbers versus previous years, and the numbers are still way down.
At this point, the situation doesn't need suspense or dramatic framing because it's no longer a mystery, it's a math problem. Attendance has remained consistently low, viewership has failed to meet expectations, and the disconnect between online enthusiasm and real-world support is glaring. On social media, Unrivaled looked like a movement, a breakthrough, a cultural moment. In the arenas, it looked empty. The contrast is impossible to ignore, and it exposes a hard truth: digital noise doesn't automatically translate into ticket sales, sustained interest, or viable growth. The hype existed, but the audience didn't show up in the numbers that actually matter.
This isn't the woke media that I know to be completely useless. This isn't the media that has a long history of polishing the turd. This is unprecedented. The media is actually telling us the truth. Last year, they were trying to convince us that Unrivaled was taking over the world. Have you seen these ratings? I haven't seen ratings this high since
This is the same media ecosystem that spent years positioning itself as the unwavering defender of women's basketball, insisting the product was must-see television and treating any skepticism as bad faith. Now, with Unrivaled struggling in ways that can't be spun away, that confidence is cracking. Attendance has been weak, viewership hasn't matched expectations, and the disconnect between loud online hype and quiet arenas is impossible to ignore. Social media made Unrivaled feel like a cultural breakthrough, but the real-world numbers tell a different story. What's changed isn't the math, it's the willingness to acknowledge it. The shift happening now isn't dramatic or emotional, it's practical. The league isn't failing because people didn't believe hard enough, it's struggling because demand hasn't materialized at scale. And for the first time, even the media voices that once dismissed any criticism are starting to admit that reality out loud.